Hi everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, in this video, we're going to do two things. The first thing we'll do is we'll watch that sword reveal that Wheel of Time and Prime released last Wednesday. Then we'll talk about it a bit. I'll give my thoughts on it and geek out just in general. And then we're going to go through Rafe's Q&A. So he answered 10 or 11 questions from the fandom just afterwards, and some of those answers are pretty revealing and they're pretty cool, so we'll talk about that as well. Before we get started though, spoiler warning, in this video, Rafe Judkins' answers do spoil little bits of the Eye of the World. So if you haven't read at least the first book of the Wheel of Time, be forewarned, some things might be ruined for you. Alright, let's get on to that teaser trailer. Holy snappin' dog lips. I'm at a loss for words, and I've watched this thing dozens of times. It is 28 seconds of pure magic, and I want to thank Wheel of Time and Prime for sharing this with us and doing this for us for our first Wheel of Time Wednesday in quite some time. Now, what a lot of you don't know is that the night before this teaser trailer dropped, Wheel of Time and Prime replied to one of my tweets. Now, I had tweeted a few days ago and basically had said that we hadn't heard from them in over a month. When would we expect to hear something from them soon? Is Wheel of Time Wednesday coming back? And they replied the light willing, and then the next day, bam, this teaser dropped, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, this does give us some sort of indication of the amount of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into making just one of the thousands of props they have for this show. So this gives me a lot of hope that it will look absolutely beautiful on the screen, because if this one sword looks this way, I mean, the costumes, everything else has to match. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Now, I know that there were some complaints from a couple people in the fandom that the sword did not look exactly how they expected Tams' sword to look. Now, this is due to some of the old artwork depicting it, as well as the official Heronmark blade that you could buy quite a few years ago when there were still licensed products for Wheel of Time out there. I never got to get my hands on one of them. They were quite expensive. If anyone has one and want to send me pictures, that would be really cool. But this does not look like that. In fact, I think they improved upon an already amazing design. And Rafe Judkins did say that we would see different blades in the series. It wouldn't just be a katana-style blade for Heronmarks. So, seeing this, I'm really impressed, and I really, really like seeing it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you like the look of this? Would you have rathered the original style? Did you like seeing the teaser trailer that Wheel of Time and Prime released, seeing what went into making of this blade? I mean, that was absolutely cool to me, but what do you guys think? Let me know. All right, let's get on to the Q&A that Rafe Judkins gave on Twitter. Holy snappin' dog lips. That's pretty much all I can say about that. That was really cool. How can we top that? Well, we're going to top that by talking about these questions that Rafe answered on Twitter. So, saying that, if you don't have a Twitter account, it might be worth your time to make one and follow Wheel of Time and Prime. The link to their Twitter account is down below in the description box. Follow me on Twitter too. My link is also down there. And maybe follow Rafe Judkins because he's the showrunner and he releases some information as well. But Wheel of Time and Prime pretty much interacts with the fandom almost exclusively on Twitter. So if you don't have Twitter, you're not going to see the news first there. So follow them on Twitter if you can. If not, come here and I will give you all the relevant bits all the time. All right, so we're going to do these questions. The first one's from Geeky Airy. She is a part of WhatSeries.com. She has her own YouTube channel where she does the block reviews, and she's helped me out here on the channel with some of the news I do quite extensively. She does a lot of sleuthing and snooping and stuff, and she's really good at what she does. So it was really cool that Rafe answered her question. And this first question is a doozy. It's a loaded question, and we're going to talk about it a bit afterwards. So the question was, what balance are you striking between recreating what's in the books word for word and letting the artist have creativity? Now, this has been a big bone of contention for a lot of the fandom because the fandom is roughly split equally. Half of them say it should be a word for word, shot for shot, complete remake of the books, no deviation whatsoever. And the other half, like myself, and I'm fully in this camp, it's a recreation, it's an adaptation, it's going to be another turning of the wheel, they're going to change some stuff, but it will have the heart and soul of the series intact. And that's what I am saying, that's what I hope for. So what did Rafe say? Ray said, what's really important to me is that when we're diverging from the books, that we know we're doing it. So every piece of production design, from shoes to swords to the White Tower itself, begins with pages of quotes from the books about that place or thing. The designer then takes it from there to build something that makes sense in our world, with our production concerns, our cast, our aesthetic, etc. But at the end of the day, it all stems from that first document, and it's going to be something we can always go back to. So there you have it. That this is, you couldn't get any more black and white than this. The series will basically hold the heart and soul of the books, but some things will be changed. Now, we've all pretty much guessed that for weeks and months and over a year now, that they're not going to do a shot-for-shot, remake of the books. It's going to be an adaptation, and I've been saying that all along, but you couldn't get much more confirmation than this tweet from Rafe. We know they're going to change stuff. We know that things are going to be changed to make it fit their production, their aesthetic, etc. And they're using the books as reference, and they know when they're making these changes. So we have people like Sarah Nakamura, who is the book consultant for the show. She is the only person that I know of in the entire world that has read the book series more than me, and she's the most knowledgeable person, I think, on the planet for Wheel of Time currently. She is advising the writer's room. You have Rafe Judkins, who's a Wheel of Time fan, who's a showrunner, who's making this, who argues for every scrap of money and every shot he can make. The show is going to be absolutely amazing, but please don't be disappointed if you're looking for a shot-for-shot remake of the books, because you were not going to get that. It really wouldn't work on screen anyway, in my opinion. But what do I know? Anyway, let's go on to the next question. This question is by Nakomi14. She was my last winner of a What Up t-shirt. She said, have you filmed any of the pre-production, design, manufacturing of props, etc. for a behind-the-scenes program? I have to say I really hope so. Now, I hope so as well, because one of the things I really like is watching all the behind-the-scenes, how they make stuff. For example, on Netflix right now, The Movies That Made Us and the Christmas Movies That Made Us is probably my favorite series, because I like watching all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Ray's answer, of course, an amazing team has been picking up as much as they can of the process so that after the show's aired, you can see all the work and love that went into creating these details, large and small. Amazing. Super cool. So if we only get it through a Blu-ray box set, I'll probably buy the Blu-ray box set, even though I don't use Blu-rays at all. Just to see the extra stuff, I would do that. Next question is by Respect the Sea. Since we are on the topic of swords, what are some of the inspirations for armor design? Is there quite a bit of variation between the Andorian and Shannarian armor? That's a really good question. Are we going to see differences on screen like we would see in real historic countries? Yes, our costume team, led by the amazing Isis Musadin, and again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced some names in this video. I'm terrible at pronouncing things. Started by building a map of the entire Wheel of Time world, carving out what each nation and culture looked like to make sure that they're differentiated and honoring what's in the books, and then diving back into the two rivers. So there you have it, folks. Everything is going to be different. Every nation will look different. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and they're going to follow what's in the books too. So it's really cool that they're going to differentiate the different nations, because we all have pictures in our heads what they should look like, but we're going to see them on screen, which is super neat. Question by Cold Witch, I guess. How do you decide what needs to be physically made, like the sword, and what's going to be effects? That's a really good question. Me and Lauren from Unraveling the Pattern dove into this in a creator sit-down months ago now. It was like 4 hours long. You probably don't want to sit through a full 4-hour thing. So we split it up into 2-hour. It was long anyway. It's on the channel if you want to look at it. But Rafe's going to give us the answer here anyway. I want things to be as real as possible, so in any place that we possibly can, we've built things instead of trusting to effects. Our show could be all green screen, all CGI, but I think you'll be surprised about how much of it was actually built and touched and held by our actors. Now that's really cool. Now Rafe has said this a couple of times, so have other people involved in the show, that they're doing as much with practical effects as they possibly can because it feels more real. And myself, a child of the 80s, I really, really love practical effects. I adore them, I grew up on them, and I hope to see them in the show, and here we go. We know we're going to get some, which makes me very happy. Question by Mike Turner 1. Weapons and their individualistic characteristics are integral to particular characters, especially with Matt, Rand, and Perrin. Will the show give a similar focus, or will the weapons just mostly be there? That's a pretty good question. I mean, are they just going to be holding them, or are they going to honor the weapons? Are they going to, focus on them? You cannot even imagine the number of hours that goes into each person's weapon. Now, this is what I talked about earlier when we watched the teaser. I was in at least 20 meetings about the dagger that Egwene has, and that's not even a major weapon in the books. It's not. She has a dagger. she's held it a couple times, but she doesn't really do much with it. There's a whole team of people, and we have a few big book fans in the prop teams. Looking at every item held by an actor on the show, I'd be shocked if less than 10,000 woman or man hours were spent on the design and creation of the Heron-Mark sword, which is crazy. That's one prop. 10,000 hours. Wow. I mean, if you don't have faith that the show is going to look really nice yet, this should do it for you. That's a whole lot of work and time into this. Now we know where the $15 million an episode is going. It's going to the props. Question by Taishar Malkier. Will there be different styles of swords and Heron-Mark swords, or will all of them be in the katana style? I think I touched on this earlier. The answer was many, many different styles. Now we know that they're going to honor a bunch of different historical periods for weapons and swords and stuff, and it's going to be really, really neat to see on the screen. I can't wait to see more. I mean, I'd like to see the Shan Chan Heron-Mark blade. I'd like to see a Borderlands style one. I want to see one from Andor. I want to see all kinds of different ones. I can't wait to see all these weapons on screen. I'm just excited. Next question, which was by Lyco Psycho. Will Moraine still have a staff at the outset? I know she says it helps her to focus, but seeing as how she tossed it aside after it was charred coming out of the ways and she never replaced it, it doesn't really seem necessary. Now, this is a really good question because, yes, she never picked it up again. She never had a staff again, and it could be, now correct me if I'm wrong on this for you guys watching the video, and let me know in the comments if you feel the same way. It could be very confusing to viewers. I mean, for readers, we know the staff was in the first part of the books. We know she used it. We know that it was a focus. We know all of those things because it was explained in the books. And then when she never picks it up or uses it again, we're not shocked or surprised because we've read the book series. For someone watching the show who sees this, for lack of a better term, magic user, use magic while using the staff, they're going to think Gandalf. They're going to think wizard or witch. They're going to think that this is a magical staff that has magical properties. No matter what you say in the show, people are going to miss a line or two of dialogue. They will, and they're going to think it is. And then later on, when she doesn't have her use it, they're like, oh, well, she get that crazy powerful staff. What happened to that? It's got plus 12 to Trolloc smiting. We need that. It's a smart move if they don't use this stuff, but let's see what Rafe said. We're approaching this as an adaptation of the entire series, not just each book individually. So hopefully Season 1 will feel more like the entire book series of The Wheel of Time than it does like The Eye of the World. With that in mind, no Moraine staff, let chaos ensue, ha. So he gave us a pretty big indication here that they are going more for a visual effects style than they are just like what it says in the books. Now, this is something else interesting in this answer, is he said they're going for Season 1 feeling like The Wheel of Time, not The Eye of the World. So for those of you who are hoping that first shot will be the prologue, the second shot will be Emond's Field, on the road, the next shot will be this, the next shot will be that, and it'll be chronologically following the books. This will crush that for you because it's not happening. They're going to showcase the world. Now, we already know Logain has an expanded storyline. We already know they're showing different places in the first season that really weren't shown in the books. For example, we have filming done in Spain recently with the King of Gildan. So there's all of that that's not in the books that we're going to see on the screen. So he's building a world here. So the first season is going to show stuff that we wouldn't see in the first book because you have to build the world for the viewers. And this is pretty exciting. All right, question by Jack Brogardi. How is the set for the Two Rivers designed architecturally? It would seem easy to make it homely and medieval, but because of its location and history, are there any other inspirations coming into play? That's a really good question. I like that question. The answer, when the books came out, they felt so blazingly fresh and different and new, so we want that same thing to be true of the show. And if you see us leaning away from certain elements in the books, oftentimes it's because audience have now seen them before. Unfortunately, sometimes even in cases where the book-to-screen adaptations from the books that cribbed it from Wheel of Time, ha. Alright, so essentially what he's saying is we are going to see things different from the books, the way things are described in the books, in some cases, because seeing it on screen that way will feel old to the viewers. Now, you got to understand that a lot of people that are going to watch this show are not readers of the books. In fact, the readers of the books are not going to be the show's core audience. Game of Thrones readers were not the core audience of Game of Thrones. Not initially, at least, anyway. People read the books after they watched the show in many, many cases. And that's probably going to be the same for The Wheel of Time. This will boost book sales crazy, I'm sure, when it comes out. But you have to understand that they're not going to show something that is old and tired that we've seen a dozen times before in other fantasy television shows and other fantasy movies, because it's going to feel old and tired to most people, even though for us as readers, it's not quite the same as in the books. They're going to try to recreate that feeling, which makes me happy. I want that feeling. I want that magical newness. When I was 9 years old and I first picked up The Eye of the World and I was reading it, and I was so excited. That's what I want from the show, and I'm hopeful they'll give it to me. Question by Quite Lightning. The music, how is that related to the show? Do we get a glimpse of a theme? Oh, that's a really good question, because as we all know, The Witcher, they dealt with, the music. It was spot on, amazing. It was really, really cool. I still sing Toss a Coin to Your Witcher in the shower almost daily. It's really cool, so I'm hoping something similar happens for Wheel of Time. And Rafe got back to us and said, this is not music from the show itself. When it is, it'll make sure you know it, and it will hopefully feel very uniquely Wheel of Time with a happy face. So, what you're hearing from the teaser trailer, he's saying, is not from the show, which, makes kind of sense. It's very epic, very cool, very grandiose, but not really fantasy epic grandiose in my mind. I'm hoping for the iconic Game of Thrones introduction, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. Those are things I want to see only Wheel of Time, and it kind of sounds like he's saying they will have something like that, which makes me really happy, because I want to be singing a Wheel of Time song, like maybe Jack of the Shadows or something in the shower. That's what I want to sing instead of Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. Question by Lenton. How are the sword forms going to be presented? Is the style going to be pulled from a specific region of sword fighting, or are they going to be spread out over many regions? Now, this is pretty cool, because in the books, the sword forms are often described, with broad strokes. It's not like, Cat Crossing in Courtyard looks exactly like this. Heron Wading in the Brushes looks exactly like this. It gives you an idea to imagine it. But it does describe that different blade masters use the forms slightly differently. So when Rand is fighting one of the Sanchan lords with his hair-marked blade, he notices that the forms are similar to what Lan taught him, but they're not exactly the same. So I wonder if they're going to incorporate that. We have a fight time and swordmaster on the show who has built a fighting style unique to each weapon and culture. So there's your answer. It's going to be different, just like it was in the books. So if you see a Borderlander fight with a Heron-marked blade, it may feel different than a Shan-Chan. That's merely hypothetical, of course. Yeah, hypothetical, my butt. That means that we're going to see different fighting styles with the same types of weapons, which is super cool. And for all you weapons geeks out there, I can't wait for you guys to pick that stuff apart when the show comes out, because I'm at a loss when it comes to that stuff, so I'll need your help. Question by Amos the Wise. What influences were used in designing the travel and daily wear for Emond's Field 5, but also Moraine and Lan, considering how they described while they're on the road, but how they also appear when in a city setting? I think I said that wrong somewhere there. Rough-hewn wools, linens, silks, leather for the warders, etc. Okay, so basically the question was, are they going to look different on the road than they do in the city? I hope so. Answer. In my mind, Moraine and Lan have spent the better part of their time together on the road, and Emond's Field 5 grew up in a place where knowing how to survive in the wilds was a necessity, so they are all incredibly practical with what they wear and travel with, and when they're in a city and not needing to leave soon, you can see different looks from them. That makes 100% sense to me. I mean, if you're traveling on the road, you're not going to be dressed to the nines in like a silk riding gown and stuff if you're out in the wilds. But in the city, when you have to impress people and look the part, of course. So I think we'll see different costume changes from the characters at the very least, which is pretty cool. Question by Daniel B. Green. Now this question, I don't know if you guys watched the meme off that me, Matt Hatch from the Dusty Wheel, and Lawrence from Unraveling the Pattern did with our special guest host, Way the Leaf, last week in the Dusty Wheel, but this came up. This was actually tweeted live during that show, and we kind of ribbed Daniel a little bit for it, because it's kind of a funny question, and it get answered. So we ribbed him just a little bit for it live. It was kind of neat, kind of cool. But the answer that Rafe gave was, this one had the most likes, so is the winner. This was the bonus question he's going to answer. Ha! I can officially confirm, journalists get ready, that I do not, in fact, exercise my calves, but the actors who are constantly training in all things Wheel of Time while they're in Prague do. So there you have it. Now, we've all seen Instagram photos of Lan and Yosha and Marcus, the rest of them all working out and getting in shape for the Wheel of Time. I am sure they're doing calf exercises too, but I can probably pretty much guarantee you they're not focusing exclusively on their calves, so they'll look like me with massive calves. No, they'll probably do a well-rounded exercise routine is my guess. All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with me here to the very end. Now, I do want to mention something before I go. Daniel Green gave me a little bit of a shout-out on his Fantasy News episode this morning, which was really, really neat. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. I really do appreciate it. Now, if you don't follow Daniel Green, are you living under a rock? No, he is probably the biggest fantasy news YouTuber. He's got close to 250,000 subscribers. He's really big. He's a big deal, and he does an amazing job at giving fantasy news. So if you don't already subscribe to him, just, actually, I'll link him down below in the description box. Go check out his channel. He's really, really amazing, and he is really gracious, and he's a huge Wheel of Time fan, and he's a big part of the community as well. So thanks so much for that, Daniel. Now, before I do go, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, and I know this because 60% of my viewers don't subscribe to my channel, I don't know why, please subscribe to the channel. I put out 2 to 3 videos per week, all Wheel of Time based, and most of it's Wheel of Time on Prime, so it's either going to be scoops like the stuff in Spain from WatchSeries.com, little things that I pick up here and there, news that may not be reported other places, or news that is reported that I give my take on. And barring that, if there are no news or no other things going on, I will do Wheel of Time centric content. So there's always new content coming up from the channel, and it's not always in the same day because of my schedule, my family schedule. I like to do things on different days when I have time. So if you don't already subscribe to the channel, like I said, click that subscribe button, click the like button if you like the video, keeps the YouTube metrics happy, and leave a couple of comments. The more comments, the more likes, and the more subscribers I get, the more content I can actually make, because it puts me out there a little bit more for other people to see. And as well, if you're not already sharing my videos around, please do so. It helps the channel grow, and the more I grow, the more I can do for you guys. All right, thank you so much for sticking with me here to the very end, and here's to many more.